This is Georgie, the $100 Mazda Miata. And over the past year, I've been modifying Georgie and putting in very, very little money to get him to where he is today. There's only one problem with Georgie. There's a lot of problems with Georgie, but the biggest problem with Georgie's slow.
So when you want to make a car faster, you've got three options. You got A, engine swap, B, forced induction, or C, get a different car. Kind of your only options. And in order to keep this budget minded, I am going to keep the engine that's already inside Georgie. In the spirit of keeping things budget, I bought a used turbo kit off of Facebook Marketplace for $300. This is a CX Racing turbo kit that looks like it's been sitting at the bottom of the ocean. If you look in here, you can see that a few of the teeth are missing. but we have no shaft play. I think I'm going to run this turbo, potentially do an upgrade. We'll see. But for now, slap this super crappy cheap turbo onto Georgie. I want to turbocharge Georgie for as cheap as possible, but I also want it to last. There's ways that you can do it. You can almost do it for free. You basically get a turbo, you route it right into the intake, no intercooler, you just jack the fuel pressure up a little bit, you go on your merry way. We're not going to do that. I'm going to try and do this as correct as possible for as cheap as possible. And in order to do that, there's a few things that I need. We need a turbo. We got that covered, as long as it's good. A downpipe. Hopefully it fits. Turbo manifold. Hopefully there's no cracks in it. And if there is, I got a welder. Oil lines. Still need to source those. Intercooler. Found an intercooler yard sale for $20. I'll show you that eventually. Intercooler piping. Got to figure that out. ECU. That is today's docket. Wideband sensor. Now, bonus items that would be pretty sick and help out the build that we don't necessarily need, but would probably be good if we could fit it in the budget or find it cheap. Probably worth doing. Fuel pump. You're shooting more air into the engine, you want more fuel. Injectors, same deal. You're shooting more air, you want more fuel. So fuel pump and injectors, kind of important. If you're going to do this at home, I recommend you get them, but we might not be able to fit it in the budget, or we might not be able to find them cheap enough, but you never know. If we do, sick. Blow-off valve, you don't need a blow-off valve. You get turbo flutter noises. That turbo was poopy garbage, so if it pops, it pops. That's bonus. And a boost controller. Now, honestly, I think I'm going to run it on gate pressure. I don't think Georgie needs to be going that fast. I don't think he can handle it, but if we can find a boost controller, sweet deal. And I believe that is everything that we will need. If you think I'm forgetting something, add it in the comments down below. So in order for Georgie to be turbocharged, he needs to be able to manage all the extra power. So in that department, I picked up this Speedy EFI ECU. I'm not sure how much it costs. I will put it right here. I think it's a little over $400. So this is cutting into the budget heavily. I bought this kit as opposed to just getting the ECU because I need all this stuff anyway. Basically, it comes with a variable TPS. So the throttle position sensor that's in Georgie right now, it basically reads on or off. And in order to tune it properly, basically want to be able to read when it's like half throttle and yada yada yada. So need that. It also came with the little cord that adapts it to the regular TPS that's in the 1.6. Also have the intake air temperature sensor little adapter thing. You plug this into the airflow meter, and basically you want to read air temperature instead of using a MAF or a airflow meter. Also comes with tons of vacuum hose that goes from your engine through the firewall and to the ECU. And lastly, I picked up the cheapest wideband sensor that you can buy off of freaking Amazon. It's a rip-off of like an AEM one, so I'm hoping it works. It's got good reviews, so I think this was like $80, which is comical because the AEM one's like $200. One thing you want to do before you go ahead and turbocharge your car, you want to make sure that your car runs good beforehand. And in this case, Georgie runs like shit. Don't get me wrong, Georgie does run. So, we go to start. And he stalls. You just gotta give him a little... You gotta feather a fluctuating. Let's go. And just like that, George is stumbling, but he's alive. He's a little smoky, a little stinky, but he runs. So you want to make sure you start with a somewhat running car. Step numero uno. You want to go ahead and disconnect your battery. Not sure that it's absolutely necessary, but you're unplugging an ECU, so probably a good freaking idea, you know? Georgie's never gonna run again. All right, next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drill a hole for, I don't even need to drill a hole. So I have another Miata over yonder, and it was previously NA. So this was the little crossover tube from it. I needed to drill a hole for my intake air temp sensor, and one is already made right there. Super convenient. So what you're gonna do is find a spot, drill a hole, and you're gonna stick your intake air temp sensor into yonder.
So now obviously when we go to Turbocharge Georgie, this is gonna change to the intercooler pipe. It's not gonna be in this charge pipe, obviously, because this won't be here. So I'm gonna put this temporarily in for now. Basically, I just wanna see Georgie run. I wanna get him running on the standalone before I go ahead and cause more problems. Because if I turbocharged it and threw the ECU in and it just didn't work, then I'm chasing issues. I have no idea what is the actual cause of the problem. So if I get it running on the ECU, that'll be good news, Bears. Now, obviously, this is just into plastic, just a hole, and it's in there pretty tight. Like, I didn't thread anything in there, basically just kind of stuffed it in there. When you go to put this into intercooler piping, you're gonna have to weld in a bung or tap threads. So the intake air temperature sensor needs to connect to the connector that goes to the airflow meter. That's basically gonna send information through your harness to your ECU. Since I'm a smarty pants and I bought the little kit, it comes with something. It just goes, you plug it in, this way rather, and it goes right together. So you see there's two wires, and if you look here, there is just two pins. I'm not sure which side it is, if it's either pin 1 and pin 6 or pin 2 and pin 7, but regardless, there's only two pins, and if you're not going to get this connector, you could just take a wire that goes from this and run it to the corresponding pins that go to this Johnny over here. For the sake of time, and also I'm not finalizing this yet, just gonna have our wire plugged in. We've got our little factory retainer clipped in yonder, and yeah, I don't know, there's a lot of freaking wire, but I don't know where I'm gonna put the intake air temp when I go to turbo it. So right now, just kind of all over the place. The people over at Speedy EFI are smart enough to send this little paper, because I would have forgot all about it. You want to unplug a fuse over yonder. So we open up our little dude. Come out. Sick, I didn't break it. All right, we're good. Okay, now, fuse dude, we got fuse number 10. Boom. Next thing on the agenda, replace this super duper crappy throttle position sensor with a super duper nice BMW style. And oh, it hit the ground. Sweet. Anywho, use this little Joan, slap it on. Fun fact, if you RTV your throttle body on, geez Louise, that took some force to get off. Okay, I got the throttle position sensor off. Now I gotta get this off and clean all the RTB off and then RTV it again. It smells like gas, like a lot of gas. Oh, this thing runs great. It's gonna continue to run great. Oakley dokley, I'll bet you guys a nickel that I'm gonna have to get a new gasket. The RTV is just, it's an interesting move. Hopefully it seals up for now. Well, we got our variable TPS replacing this little fella here. So hopefully
should be good. I'm not sure what the articulation is, like kind of moves. I just have it like slightly tightened down here. So hopefully that's all set. Last thing I gotta do before I plug in the ECU is run a map line, which is basically just a vacuum line. I gotta attach it to the engine, run it through the firewall into the ECU. So I could tie into anywhere. I mean, I don't know what the fuck this is. I can only imagine it's not very important for a turbocharged track car. So, hey, God dang, why so tight? Look at me look like a little baby boy trying to get this shit off. Boop. So now the tricky part is going to be finding a nice route. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute, I already did a thing. I got fan wires. Okay, so I'm gonna use the old air conditioning hole to go through. I'm gonna just hook it up, kind of twist this out of the way, go through this hole here. Running the vacuum line for the map sensor is arguably the hardest part about this whole thing. Just finding a nice place to do it and run it through, and you gotta undo a bunch of stuff. Giant pain in the butt, but once it's in, it's good. As long as you put it somewhere where it's not gonna like chafe and rub through. This is the only reference that your ECU has. So you wanna make sure that you're not gonna have some metal on metal and just like it rubs through or rips or anything like that. Avoid anything hot, avoid anything sharp. Run it through a rubber grommet if you're going through the firewall, and yeah, it should be good. So we take our speedy EFI ECU and we're gonna plug it in to the yellow boys back down yonder. This is the map sensor inside here, so that vacuum line goes into here. And then this is the cable that connects to your laptop. Just like that, we are good to go. We've got our ECU plugged in. We've got our map sensor plugged in with excess amount of vacuum hose. Obviously, you can trim this and tuck this up. This is just kind of temporary for now. I don't actually know if I wanted to tuck it up nice or do anything in the engine bay yet. But for now, just got to see if Georgie will run. I believe that's it. It was like probably an hour, and that was me filming too, so should take you like half an hour to do this. Pretty simple. If you're running a Mega Squirt, same deal, same exact principles and everything. So yeah, we've got intake air temp, throttle position sensor, map sensor. ECU should be doing all the work. So obviously this is rough. Everything's just kind of laid out. I want to see if Georgie will run first. Then it's turbo time. All right, just for shits and gigs, let's see if Georgie will start. Variable TPS is not programmed or anything. I've not even played with the computer yet. Oh, we got a poop. We got a little pop. Oh, you know what helped? If I threw the frickin' if I hook the throttle back up, the cable doesn't do anything. Please hold, because George doesn't like to start without throttle. Georgie is running. Oh, kinda. Running poorly, but oh my god, it's running so bad. So since I went and installed that fancy throttle position sensor, the ECU needs to be calibrated to it. So close throttle. The throttle is currently closed. I'm going to press get current. Okay, and then I'm going to put my foot to the floor, all the way to the floor, get current. And now we go accept. So we're at 0, we're at 100. See? Now I'm like modulating it, and the ECU can see that. Pretty cool. Update. Okay, so our coolant temperature sensor is normal now. So what I did is went to tools, calibrate temperature sensors, and then I went coolant temp, and then you set it to this RX-7 one, just like an airflow meter dude. So that one's good. And now we have our air inlet temp sensor. So that's that GM little dude that I installed. So we'll go here. We'll go air temperature sensor.
GM is the one I did, and then right to controller. It's doing stuff and things. It's yelling at me. Right complete. Close. And just like that, we have no more crazy warnings or anything funky going on. And now we try and start. It says that I have to do power settings, but I did. Georgie don't like to idle.
Simple, simple, simple. Timing's got to be off, for one. Idle's really low. Let them warm up a minute. Kick the fans on. It's running. I'll take it. I had to pull Georgie outside. He's smoking out my shop. Oh, man. I'm still hyped, though. I had to set base timing still. Got to do a few tweaks. I'm going to assume the base map is probably as good as the factory ECU, just kind of kicking in, you know? I still got to install a wideband, too. But for now, I'm going to pull them outside and let them get to operating temp, and then kick the fans on. So it's having this issue where if I pin it, it'll just go, bah, bah. So something is not right. So for now, I think I'm going to add the wideband so I can actually see how rich it's running, because I have a feeling it's running really rich. So let me get the wideband set up next. For now, I'm gonna call it a day. It's getting really cold. I think it's like 20 degrees outside right now. So let me pull George in and pick this up at a later date. Okay, so I was gonna call it a day. I got the ECU installed. Georgie's running. I did some beep boops on the computer, and then he started running noticeably worse. And I reached out, one of my buddies, he saw my story, and he has an extra fuel pump and RX-8 injectors. They might just be Amazon RX-8 injectors, I'm not sure, which are supposed to be really bad. But if they're real RX-8 injectors, sick. And also the fuel pump, that's a big win. So we have an upgraded fuel pump and injectors. I'm going to go drive for an hour and go pick those up. So we have a DW100 fuel pump, RX-8 injectors. We're not sure if they are authentic or if they are Chinese, but regardless, they'll be perfect for George. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. You're going to find out.
Oh, my God. We'll find out. I wonder how long they'll last, but I have a feeling Georgia will blow up before these become a problem.
Today is a new day. The day of the wideband from Amazon.
Okie dokie. So we have our AEM replica wideband. I would assume that's what it is. We've got wire, wideband O2 sensor. Oh, we got a loose nut. We got some more nuts, a well-done bung. That's actually not a bad kit for $80. I mean, damn. First thing I'm gonna do is I gotta decide if I want to use the gauge in the pod or just drill a hole into my little ABS dude. It's not bad to put it in there. It's a pretty cool spot, to be honest. So, yoink. You take these little tabby dudes, you just gotta press them in with a flathead screwdriver. Separate this, remove ball, stick gauge into hole. After a few minutes of finessing, we have our little gauge pod that's just gonna go. Now I gotta figure out the wiring. All right, quick rundown. This is way easier than I thought it was gonna be. So we've got this plug and this plug going to the back of our wideband sensor. We have our wideband oxygen sensor. That obviously goes where an oxygen sensor goes. This long cord's gonna run through the firewall and go pop right in there. On this side, we have this wire. Gets plugged in, obviously. And the only thing we need right here is this power, ground, and this is the output to the ECU. So pretty straightforward. I'm gonna go ahead and assume that the output to the ECU is the factory oxygen sensor wire. So that white wire that goes down yonder, I'm gonna go ahead and guess, I gotta watch a video to verify. I'm gonna guess that this cord right here that the oxygen sensor is plugged into, I could probably just cut this and splice into it. And then that's going to be running through the wire and harness and then to the ECU. So I decided to get rid of a bunch of stuff in here and try and recoup some money for the build. So I am going to try and sell some stuff on eBay, and I think I could sell it. I'm gonna sell it for a little bit cheaper than what they're going for. I got the actuator for the cruise control. We've got the factory airflow meter. That's probably worth something good, along with the airbox. I'm not sure if I'm gonna sell it together or sell it separately. I also have this strut bar. I think it's factory, some sort of factory strut bar. I'm not sure. That's probably a good chunk of change, maybe like 40, 50 bucks. Over here, we have the factory switch for the cruise control. I definitely don't need that. I looked on eBay really quick. Those are going for like $25. So we're recouping some funds to continue the $1,000 turbo build. Trying to keep it right around 1,000 or under. So if I can, I'm gonna sell some stuff that we don't need, get rid of it, make some room. I'm also debating on getting rid of power steering. Power steering is pretty cool in a drift car. It is a pain in the ass though, because it spews out of the reservoir. It doesn't matter. Every car I've ever had spews out of the reservoir. It gets hot. You need a cooler. So getting rid of that would be pretty sick. It would make a lot of room for intercooler piping and stuff. Like this takes up a whole bunch of room. We don't need that. We don't need AC. We don't need nothing. So I'm thinking pull that rack out. I think I have a manual rack. So I'm still on the fence. If I have to get rid of the power steering, then I definitely don't need it. I got a manual rack we can swap in. And that would be pretty sick. I don't know how I would feel drifting in a non-power rack car, just a manual rack, but these cars are light enough. So basically, the idea is to make Georgie as agile as possible for as cheap as possible. So I think I'm all done for now. We have a little grommet going through the firewall that didn't exactly fit because it was a square hole, so I cut that, but it's okay. Wires will not get chafed. We have the connector kind of hiding inside of the loom. That plugs into the little gauge there, and this goes down, boom, into our oxygen sensor. There's also two wires that are hiding in here, one of which goes to the factory oxygen sensor. So I plug that in over here. And then this one is just a ground, which I'm going to put right there. Boop. So once I put the ground on and plug this in, plug that other thing in to get it out of the way, we are good in the engine bay for the wideband. I just have to figure out this mess inside. We've got many wires, and I need to come up with a power source and a lot of other things, so please hold. Okay, it is an absolute mess. A little rat's nest mess in here. We've got that drilled, which is a little funny. I made sure to dodge all the adjustments and stuff, so none of the wires catch the HVAC stuff, because that works. I have things crudely wired. I think I ended up just using the radio harness. This thing is an absolute rat's nest. I need to tidy this up too. I'm surprised it didn't have anything short out, to be honest. This is a 12 volt constant wire, so basically once the key is turned, it kicks on. I tied these both together because in theory I think they're both just grounds. I might have to change that. This is the wire that comes from the engine all the way through. I don't know why I did that. I just figured why not have a good engine ground. And then this is the signal wire from the oxygen sensor. And in theory, if I turn the key, this little guy will at least power on. Ooh, we got some numbers. O2 is heating. Dude, no way. Why are you so rich, bro? Why are you so rich? You didn't even run it. Okay, we're back together, and everything is soldered and kind of tidied up back here. This is hiding a lot. Oh, you've got power. We're getting somewhere. The only thing that might not be hooked up right is the oxygen sensor dude that communicates with the ECU. I won't know that until a little later. I gotta go get my computer, hopefully program that, and then I can get this bitch to start and run right, because it's actually getting some data.
But for now, I think I'm gonna call it a day. We got a lot done on Georgie. We've got a wideband, we've got a standalone ECU, we got him to run, and that's pretty dang good for a day's work. So I'm gonna try and make this one video, but honestly, there's so much stuff to do, and I kind of want to keep some details into it. This is the least exciting out of all the build videos for Turbo and Georgie. But if you made it this far, thank you guys so much for watching, and make sure you subscribe. If you're not subscribed already, I'm gonna be giving away this brand new Turbo. Instead of putting it on Georgie, I'm gonna give it away to one of you guys. I'm gonna use some recycled trash and leave you guys to have a brand new Max Beating Rods Turbo, and it is one of the more performance ones. So like this video, subscribe, and more information about the giveaway coming up soon. All you gotta do is subscribe. All right guys, take it easy.